ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिडीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भुरिदा जनाः। Let us resume our discussion on Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual discourses. Which was the Sunday following his birthday as per the almanac in 1885. That is on 22nd of February 1885. It appears in the 5th volume of the original Bengali presentation, the Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita. (564) under second volume of the Hindi presentation, Sri Ramakrishna Bachanamrit, (206 and 4), and under chapter 32 of the chronologically presented English translation, the Gospel of SriRamakrishna. We are meeting almost after a month, because in between we have the closure due to Shivaratri and the birthday celebration of Sri Ramakrishna. So let us recapitulate where we ended last. There was a controversy between Girish Chandra Ghosh and Sri Ramakrishna. Girish Chandra Ghosh was arguing that everything is possible by the will of Sri Ramakrishna. But Sri Ramakrishna kept on insisting that everything will be possible by the will of God, not by any other human being. So Girish Chandra concluded the controversy saying, both of us are saying the same. So Sri Ramakrishna indirectly accepted the argument of Girish Chandra Ghosh, saying that it is true if the person has faith. We have to understand the difference. Girish Chandra was saying that everything depends on the will of Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna said, no, it is the will of God. Girish Chandra reconciled, saying that Sri Ramakrishna was no other than God. So he is also saying the same thing. Sri Ramakrishna was posing himself as a devotee, whereas Girish Chandra Ghosh knew to the core of his heart that in appearance he is a devotee, but in reality he is God. So Sri Ramakrishna has accepted this with this rider, that it is very easy to realize God if one is simple. सरल बनने पर ईश्वर का शीघ्र ही लाभ होता है. This is what we discussed in our last Sunday class about a month ago. By being guiltless, one can speedily realize God. Now, for realization of God, there has been various methods prescribed throughout thousands of years. Yoga paddhati, dhyana paddhati, nana prakar ka. There is no end of the methods prescribed for God realization, and there is a very interesting topic because that is the ultimate goal of life. So everyone is interested to know how to reach God, and quicker the better. So Sri Ramakrishna here is giving a quick way to realize God is to become simple. And what do you mean by simplicity? What do you mean by being straightforward, guiltless? He is giving the example of a 5-year-old boy. Just imagine the nature of a 5-year-old boy. He is very simple, naive. He has not learned to tell a lie. It is still not exposed to him. He speaks what he says, he speaks what is there in his heart, without any other consideration. But when we have to say something, we have to tailor our statement depending on the environment, whom we are saying. So that makes a compromise. When there is a departure from the truth, Sri Ramakrishna says, a person who is holding to the truth, he is lying on the lap of God. It's as simple as that. And then he says that for 3 kinds of people, God realization becomes difficult. There are several kinds of people who do not attain divine knowledge. He not only says it's difficult, he says it's not possible. For 3 types of people, realization of God is not possible. He ruled out. First, a man with a perverse mind. जानते हो कि कितने को ज्ञान नहीं होता? एक जिसका मन टेढ़ा है, सरल नहीं है. A person who is complicated, not straightforward. For him it is not possible to realize God. He does not say that it is difficult. He says it is not possible. जिसका टेढ़ा है, not simple है. He may do whatever he likes, he may earn a lot of money, but the door of God is closed for him. And second, he says, one is a perverse mind. Now, second one is very fastidious about outer purity. Very fastidious about outer purity means दूसरा जिसे छुआछूत का रोग है. छुआछूत, he is terming it as not a matter of discipline, it is a matter of disease. It's a disease. It's a mental disorder, untouchability. And third, he says that this type of people also debarred from God realization. The third is the doubting mind. Third is a doubting person. तीसरा है जो संशयात्मा. So those of us who are very serious about realization of God, they must take care of these aspects and be away from them very seriously. Now, so far as the first point is concerned, that those are not simple but complicated, we have to understand that we must orient ourselves with the divine nature as far as possible in order to be divine. Why is it being necessary? These are the traits of God. God is simple. God is simple. So naturally there cannot be any homogeneous mixture if the devotee is not simple. Simple law of nature. If you want to mix oil and water, it will never get mixed. It will be separate. Because they are viparit dharmi. They are not of similar matter. But we are designed out of God. So our real nature is, it resembles, when it resembles the nature of God, then we match for each other, not otherwise. इसलिए कहा जाता है सरोल ना हुले सरोल के जाए ना चेना. God is simple, so one cannot recognize God unless one is simple himself or herself. If there is any debauchery, there is any complicated mind, for him or her, it is not possible to realize God. Because his nature, we cannot do anything. God's nature is that it is simplicity personified. Simple. So we must remember that it is a mandatory requirement for our spiritual life. Now, naturally, when a person becomes grown, becomes adult, every one of us spent our childhood being simple. A child cannot be complicated. His this understanding, till it is mature, is in a naive state, naive, simple. That is a common experience, common feeling shared by all. So when from childhood to adulthood they are making a move, then is the time when the person starts becoming complicated. And after some time becomes totally complicated. So how to get back to the simplicity? There is the question. We can understand the yoga and karma, jnana, etc. But how to change the quality of our mind, how to change our practice, our आदत बन जाता है. झूठ कपट में मेरा आदत झूठ कपट बन जाता है, तो उसको सरल कैसे करें? हाउ टू कन्वर्ट? One method Sri Ramakrishna himself was doing. He says, keep the company of 5-year-old children, because the simplicity is reflected by their participation, and the simplicity should be imbibed. Then only you can grow spiritually. But for children, it is spontaneous. So when you keep in company of the children, then that simplicity we imbibe from the children. So Sri Ramakrishna says that here I used to keep some children, and the Ramlal's son I used to keep with me, and he was behaving like a child. So that arouses our childlike nature within. Everyone has costly childhood, but he forgot. But we put this system by which the childlike traits can be made, converted in our life by being in touch, being in company with the children. So our latent, simple behavior gets instigated as the company of holy person, satsang, our divine thoughts become aroused. That is the advantage of satsang, holy company. With holy persons, we become holy, because the holiness is radiated. When you go near an air conditioner, whether we want it or not, we feel cool. By the proximity, or when in the winter we go near a heater. So when you go near the heater, then that warmth of the heater is radiated, and you feel the warmth without touching the heater. Like this, everything else. Similarly, when you keep company of the simpletons, children, then you cannot but become the blessed by getting the transformation through this their simplicity. So one is, we have to strive to be simple, and God is far away from complicated. By imbibing complication, debauchery, we want to make some profit, some advantage in whatever way you want. But that is achieved at the cost of spirituality. So you must think, should we trade in our simplicity and get some mundane, bogus reward, and our simplicity is sold out. So spiritual persons must be very alert in this matter. When we are sincere, then it is God's duty to take care of us. So this is one thing, that one has to be simple. And one method is keeping the company of the children. Secondly, the second clause was given, जिसका छुआछूत है, untouchability. That also comes from a peculiar sense of superiority complex, that the original idea is good, God is pure and I have to become pure. This idea is good. But the peculiar idea that if I touch someone, and if he is not visibly pure, then you become reluctant. So that is subjective error that can be discussed personally. But in broad spectrum, when there is this mentality of untouchability that kills the instinct of religion, this we have to understand. Who is very fastidious about outer purity. There is one thing, outer purity, and also that personal purity, the Suchibai, like taking bath all the time, feeling that you become impure. So the whole mind is diverted to restore physical purity. You cannot make mentally pure, that is hidden. Physically, you want to keep the person who wants the fastidious, he is taken apart. So he is rather telling that this has to be implemented in life, that physical purity is not the ultimate purity of life. It must be, there must shouchas which is necessary. Cleanliness is necessary, but that should not be taken too far. In that case, the goal is lost. Our goal is to remain pure in thought, word and deed, mentally and physically, so that we can touch the divine who is pure. We want to become simple because God is simple. Secondly, we want to make ourselves fit to be in the company of God by this method also, that we must make our life simple and straightforward, bereft of these complicated these sacrifices and ablutions and cleanliness. This should be secondary. Main purpose is to maintain, restore mental purity. But purity, if it is taken in too detail in physical sense, then the real purity is lost. A person may be physically pure, but having very polluted thoughts, then he is far from God. So that we have to understand that physical purity is not the only purity. Most important is our mental purity, our morality, our compassion, our feeling for others. These are the traits which make our mind pure. That is important. Unless we are pure, we cannot touch God. So one has to become simple, one has to become pure without any fastidious attitude of life. And thirdly, he says here that a doubting person, in Bhagavad Gita it is said, Shangshayatma vinashyati. A person who doubts, he is perished. The foundation of our spiritual life is faith, nishtha, viswas. If we go on doubting, go on questioning, not feeling steady in anything, then it cannot be done. A house cannot be built on a vibrating foundation. Without it, you are not steady. Unless the foundation is steady, building cannot stand. So building can be built on a rock or a steady ground. But then if it is floating, it may be, it may not be. So this is not the way to develop our spiritual life. We are sorry to find that some people are so fastidious. They are also interested to realize God, but they are diverted. Their attention is diverted. They are foolishly thinking that if they can stick to physical purity, they will ensure God realization. Far from it. Physical purity is a means to an end. It is to help our mind to be pure. So when the mind is pure, then physical purity becomes redundant. To start with, we make a physical purity as a mandatory requirement. And then we have this company of the holy, and then we get the method, direct method. And when the direct method is renewed, then we are blessed. So these 3 points must be borne in mind, that we cannot but remain simple, because that is a mandatory requirement to realize God. If we pray to God, this will definitely happen. This, and secondly, that one should not become fastidious about purity and non-purity. Everybody is our very own. So with that attitude, when we say that someone is not pure and I am pure, so there is a complex, inferiority, superiority complex that takes our mind away from God. So this should not be carried too far. We should be very careful in our spiritual practice and putting maximum attention to the essentials. The essentiality of life is to remain in touch with God in whatever way is possible. The environment provided, it comes on its own. We need not worry about it. Our concern should be that while we are engaged in so many activities, our principal concern should be how to realize God. For that, no compromise should be entertained. We will continue further in our next Sunday class. Niranjanam nityam anantarupam bhaktanukampa vigraham vai Ishavataram parameshamidyam tam Ramakrishnam sirosa namama. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. We close now with the chanting of the Lord. Please join with me. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om Ramakrishna, Hari Om. Now, announcements. The holy festival would be celebrated in the mutt on 7th, not on 8th, as will be done locally. So 6th, that is tomorrow evening, there will be Holika Dahan in the mutt campus. And 7th, that is Tuesday morning, we will have the offering of this abir to the deities and bhajan. And evening there will be a talk on the life and teachings of Sri Chaitanya Deva. This time the topic would be Premavatar Chaitanya Dev. And on 7th there also will be an online Visheshat Prasang. So the significance of the colored festival, the Holi Utsav के आध्यात्मिक प्रासंगिकता. That apart, the usual routine activities will be done in the mutt. You are all welcome.